My name is Jamal Wilkins. I was born and raised in Atlanta, Georgia, a city known as the cradle of the civil rights movement, the city of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. But sometimes it feels like we haven't moved forward at all. I'm 26 years old. I work as a truck driver. Not because that's my dream, but because bills don't pay themselves. My real dream? To open my own custom car shop. I've loved cars since I was a kid. My dad and I used to work on this old 1978 Chevy together, until cancer took him from us. I grew up believing that if you work hard, stay out of trouble, and respect the law, you'd have a real shot in life. That's what my mom always told me. But that night changed everything. It was just another Tuesday. I was finishing up deliveries for a furniture company that partners with an online retailer. The last drop-off was on the other side of town. I had just wrapped up when I got a text from my boy Rico. Rico, yo bro, getting together at Chris's place tonight. Come through, we're vibing. He got a new vinyl. I knew if I left now, I'd make it in time. I shot him a quick reply. Me? Bet. See y'all in an hour. I parked the company truck, hopped into my old Honda, and started heading toward Chris's place. I had jazz playing low on the radio. I love jazz. Always reminds me of my dad. I was about 20 minutes away when I noticed blue lights flashing in my rearview mirror. I checked my speed. I wasn't speeding. I pulled over right away, hands on the steering wheel. That's how I was taught to do it. An officer approached my window, a white guy, looked about 30 or so. "Good evening, sir," he said through the glass. "Good evening, officer. Is something wrong?" I asked calmly. "One of your headlights looks a little dim. Just a routine stop. Don't worry," he replied. "Of course. Here's my license and registration," I said, moving slowly, showing every motion like I was trained to do. He took my documents and walked back to his cruiser. I waited. 3 minutes. 5 minutes. Then I saw a second officer walking up. Black guy, around my age. I felt a little more at ease, for a second. But something felt off. They both approached my car, one on each side. "Mr. Wilkins, step out of the vehicle, please," the first officer ordered. Officer, may I ask why?" I replied. "Step out of the vehicle, now." His tone turned cold. My heart started pounding. I raised my hands again. "Okay, I'm stepping out," I said slowly as I opened the door and stood up. "Turn around. Hands on your head." I turned. "Officer, what's going on?" My voice cracked a little. "Suspicion of drug trafficking. Hands on your head, now." "What? This has got to be a mistake. I just got off work. Before I could finish, I felt them grab my arms, twisting them behind my back. "He's resisting," the first officer shouted. "No, I'm not resisting," I yelled. But they already had the cuffs on me. They slammed me onto the hood of my car. People started gathering on the sidewalk. I could hear phones recording, people whispering. I felt rage building inside me. Fear, too. I wanted to scream, to explain that I wasn't some criminal. But I knew one wrong move could cost me my life. "Where are the drugs?" the officer yelled in my ear. "I don't have anything. Search the car," I almost begged. They searched my car from top to bottom. Of course, they found nothing. The two officers exchanged a glance. "You're under arrest for resisting lawful orders," the first one declared. I wanted to scream that this was madness, but before I knew it, they shoved me into the back of their cruiser. Hours passed before they released me on bail. No drugs, no evidence, but they still hit me with failure to comply. My mom was waiting for me outside the station. I'll never forget the look on her face. Fear, pain, and something that felt like heartbreak. As we sat in her car, she whispered, "Jamal, do you understand you could have died tonight?" I stared out the window. "I know, Ma," I whispered back. But deep down, something inside me broke. A few days later, someone uploaded the video to TikTok. It spread like wildfire. Another case of police abuse. He wasn't even resisting. The system is at it again. Reporters started calling. News crews showed up at my doorstep. I said nothing. I just wanted it all to go away. But Rico wouldn't let it go. "Bro, if you stay quiet, this is just gonna happen to someone else tomorrow," he said. I didn't know how to answer. Nothing about this felt fair. And then, about a week later, two men in plain clothes showed up at my door. FBI. "Mr. Wilkins, we have a few questions for you." And just like that, my world started crashing down again. Let me know when you're ready for part 2. Would you like me to provide a brief summary at the start of each part to remind listeners of the previous events? I didn't know what to expect when I opened the door. Two men in plain clothes stood on my porch. One of them showed me a badge. FBI. "Mr. Wilkins, can we come in for a moment? Just a few questions," the taller one asked. I hesitated. My heart felt like it was trying to punch its way out of my chest. Yeah, sure, come in," I said quietly. They stepped inside, scanning the room like they were mapping it out in their heads. "We're Agent Harper and Agent Lewis," the tall one continued. "We're following up on the recent traffic stop incident. You've probably seen the video going around." I nodded slowly. "What about it?" I asked, keeping my distance. Agent Lewis leaned forward just a bit. "We just need to know if anyone has approached you, pressured you to talk, offered you money to tell your story, or stay quiet." I stared at them, trying to read their faces. Was this some kind of trap? "No, nobody's approached me," I answered carefully. Agent Harper nodded, but didn't look convinced. "Look, Jamal, we're not here to make things harder for you. But this case has already gotten some public attention. Things can escalate quickly. We just want to make sure you're safe." "Safe? Safe from what? Or from who? Why would anyone try to pay me off?" I asked. Agent Lewis exchanged a glance with his partner. "Because, son, stories like yours, they tend to make waves, and not everyone wants those waves getting bigger." After they left, I sat on my couch for what felt like hours, staring at the wall. My phone buzzed non-stop. Calls, texts, social media notifications. My face was already circulating online. Rico showed up later that night. He didn't even knock. Just walked right in like he always did. "You good, bro?" he asked. "No," I whispered. "Not even close." He sat down across from me, locking eyes. "Listen, man, you can't run from this. People are talking. They're ready to stand with you." I rubbed my face, exhausted. "Stand with me? Bro, I'm not trying to be anyone's hero. I just want my life back." Rico leaned in, serious. "You think you still got a life to go back to? You think they're just gonna let you walk away after this?" His words hit harder than I wanted to admit. I buried my face in my hands. "What am I supposed to do, Rico? Go on the news? Tell the whole world how it felt to get slammed on my car like some criminal? Watch them tear me apart in the comments? Watch cops show up at my job, at my mom's house?" Rico leaned back, thinking for a moment. "No, not the news," he finally said. "But you could tell your story on your own terms. Social media, bro, straight from you. No spin, no lies, just the truth." I shook my head. "No one cares about the truth, man." Rico stood up, pacing the room. "That's where you're wrong. People do care. They just need to hear it from someone brave enough to speak." Later that night, I sat on my bed scrolling through comments under the video. This man didn't even resist. How many more times are we gonna let this happen? Say his name, Jamal Wilkins. And then, I saw one that hit me like a punch to the gut. Shoulda just followed orders. Typical thug behavior. I felt my jaw clench. My stomach turned. That's what they saw? A thug? I threw my phone across the bed and stood up, pacing like Rico had earlier. My chest felt tight. My mind was racing. I grabbed my phone again, opened the camera app, and just stared at the screen for a while. I hit record. Hey, my name's Jamal Wilkins. You've probably seen the video by now." I paused, swallowing hard. That's me in the video. The guy getting cuffed on the hood of his own car for doing nothing. I could feel my voice starting to shake, but I kept going. "I'm not a criminal. I'm not a thug. I'm not a threat. I'm a son. I'm a friend. I'm a man just trying to live his life." I took a deep breath. I stayed silent because I thought it would all go away. But the truth is, silence doesn't protect us. It never has. I ended the video there, uploaded it, closed my eyes. By morning, the video had over 1 million views. My inbox was flooded. Some messages were full of love and support. Others, not so much. You're a hero, man. Keep speaking. Praying for you, Jamal. Shut up and comply next time, loser. I put my phone down, exhausted already. My mom called. Baby, you didn't tell me you were going to post a video. I had to, Ma. She sighed on the other end of the line. I'm proud of you, but I'm scared too. I didn't know what to say. I was scared too. That afternoon, my boss called me into the office. Jamal, with all this media attention, we're going to have to put you on unpaid leave. It's just until things die down. I felt like the ground disappeared beneath me. You're firing me? I asked, my voice shaking. No, not firing. Just taking you off the schedule. For now. I wanted to argue, to fight back, but I didn't. I just nodded and left. That night, Rico showed up again. We're going to the rally downtown, he said. What rally? For you. For every brother and sister this has happened to. I hesitated. Rico, what if it gets violent? What if the cops show up? He put a hand on my shoulder. They will show up, but you won't be alone. I looked into his eyes, and for the first time in days, I started to believe him. I had never been to a protest before. Sure, I'd watched them on TV, scrolling past headlines and shaky phone footage, but being there, being in the middle of it, that was different. Rico drove us downtown. The streets were already alive with the sound of voices, megaphones, and car horns. People were everywhere, holding signs, chanting, marching. No justice, no peace. Say his name, Jamal Wilkins. Black Lives Matter. I sat in the passenger seat, staring through the window in disbelief. My name. They were chanting my name. Rico parked a few blocks away. We got out, and the energy in the air hit me like a wave. Fear and courage were fighting inside my chest. I wasn't ready for this. I didn't feel like a leader. I didn't feel like a symbol. I just felt scared. Yo! Rico grabbed my arm. You good? I nodded, but it was a lie. We started walking toward the crowd. People noticed me almost immediately. Some pointed. Some raised their fists. Some came up to shake my hand. A woman, probably in her 50s, came up with tears in her eyes. God bless you, baby, she whispered, holding my hand tightly. You're fighting for all of us. I didn't know what to say. I just nodded, my throat tightening. We kept moving. The crowd seemed to open up around us, like they were waiting for me to say something. I wasn't sure if I could, but Rico nudged me toward the front, where people were gathered around a portable speaker and mic setup. A young woman, maybe in her early 20s, stood there with the mic. She locked eyes with me and gestured for me to come up. I froze. Rico leaned in. This is your moment, bro. I swallowed hard, wiped my sweaty palms on my jeans, and stepped forward. The woman handed me the mic. The crowd fell quiet. Every heartbeat felt like an explosion in my chest. I took a deep breath and raised the mic to my lips. My name is Jamal Wilkins, I started, my voice cracking. People started clapping, but I held up my hand, asking for quiet. I never asked to be here. I never wanted my face on the news. I never wanted to be another hashtag. I paused, feeling my throat tighten again. But here I am. I looked around at the faces in the crowd, black, white, brown, young, old, all waiting. What happened to me isn't new. It's not rare. It's not even surprising to a lot of us. And that's the problem. A few people nodded, some raising their fists again. We grow up learning how to survive the police, not how to trust them. We learn to keep our hands visible, to speak softly, to move slowly, to smile even when we're scared to death, just to stay alive. The lump in my throat was getting harder to fight back, but I kept going. I stayed quiet at first because I thought silence would protect me. But silence doesn't save us. Speaking up does. A cheer rose from the crowd, and I felt something shift inside me. I don't have all the answers. I'm not perfect, but I am tired. We are all tired. That's right, someone shouted. We deserve better. Our children deserve better. We deserve to live without fear. The crowd erupted in cheers. I lowered the mic, stepping back. Rico grabbed my shoulder, smiling wide. You did it, man, he whispered. I smiled back, for the first time in what felt like forever. But the moment didn't last long. Not even an hour later, the police showed up. Riot gear, helmets, shields, like they were ready for war. The chants turned louder. Hands up, don't shoot. No justice, no peace. I could feel the tension crackling in the air. An officer shouted through a loudspeaker, "This is an unlawful assembly. Disperse immediately, or you will be arrested." The crowd booed, but no one moved. Rico grabbed my arm. "Stay close, bro. This could get ugly." I nodded. Scanning the line of police, some had their hands on their batons, others on their pepper spray. My throat went dry. A water bottle flew through the air. No one knew who threw it. But that was all it took. Suddenly, the cops started moving in. Shouting, shoving, people screaming. Tear gas canisters popped open with a hiss, filling the air with thick smoke. People started running, pushing, tripping over each other. "Jamal, move!" Rico yelled, grabbing my arm. But before I could even react, I felt someone shove me hard from behind. I hit the ground, coughing, eyes burning from the gas. I heard boots pounding toward me, felt hands grabbing my arms again. "He's the one! Grab him!" I struggled to breathe, to see, to stand. But before I knew it, I was face down on the concrete again, a knee in my back. "You're under arrest for inciting a riot." No, he wasn't doing anything. I heard Rico's voice shouting somewhere nearby. I wanted to fight. I wanted to scream. But the weight on my back, the gas in my lungs, the fear in my chest, it all crushed me at once. I closed my eyes as they hauled me to my feet and dragged me toward the squad car. People were still shouting my name, but this time, I wasn't sure anyone could save me. The cell was cold. Concrete walls, metal bench, a single flickering light overhead. I sat there with my head in my hands, my wrists sore from the tight cuffs they had slapped on me hours ago. My shirt still smelled like tear gas. My eyes still burned every time I blinked. I kept replaying the moment over and over. The protest, the people chanting my name, the way it all exploded so fast, like they'd been waiting for an excuse. Inciting a riot, they'd said. But I knew the truth. I wasn't leading anyone into violence. I was leading them in hope. And somehow, that felt even more dangerous to them. The door buzzed and creaked open. 2 officers stepped in. One of them, Officer Gray, was the same one who had cuffed me the first night. He stood there, arms crossed, eyes locked on me like I was something stuck to his boot. "Well, look who made the headlines again," he sneered. I didn't answer. I wasn't giving him the satisfaction. He walked closer, leaning down so only I could hear him. "You think these people really care about you? You think they're going to be there when you're rotting in prison?" I clenched my jaw. He leaned in even closer. "You should have just shut your mouth and gone home, boy." My fists tightened, knuckles turning white. I could feel the rage bubbling up again, but I knew better. I stayed silent. He stood back up, grinning like he owned the world. "You'll see. It's only a matter of time." He turned and walked out, slamming the door behind him. I didn't know how long I was in there before someone finally came to get me. "Wilkins, you made bail." I stood up slowly, my body aching all over. They led me down the hallway, through another set of metal doors. On the other side, my mom. She rushed to me, wrapping her arms around me so tight I could barely breathe. "Oh, baby. Thank God," she whispered, tears in her voice. I held her for a long time, too long. I didn't want to let go. I didn't want to face what was waiting outside. The ride home was quiet. She kept glancing at me like she wanted to ask 100 questions but didn't know where to start. Finally, she spoke. "You know they're going to keep coming after you, right?" I nodded slowly. "I know." She gripped the steering wheel tighter. "I don't want to lose you, Jamal. I already lost your father. I can't." Her voice cracked and she swallowed hard, forcing the rest of the words down. I reached over and grabbed her hand. "I'm still here, Ma." But in my heart, I wasn't sure for how long. Rico was waiting on my porch when we pulled up. He looked me over, relief and anger fighting on his face. "They really did it, huh? Locked you up for nothing again." I nodded. "How bad was it after they grabbed me?" He let out a breath. "They broke it up fast, beat a few people down, arrested a bunch more. But people are still out there, bro. They're still marching, still saying your name." I ran a hand over my face, exhausted. "I don't know how much more I can take, man." Rico stood up, serious. "Jamal, listen to me. They want you to break. They want you to give up. But look around. You started something bigger than yourself. This isn't just about you anymore." I looked at him, feeling the weight of every word. "Then what the hell do I do now?" He smiled. "You fight smarter." Later that night, I got a call I wasn't expecting. It was a woman named Aisha Brooks, a civil rights attorney. She'd seen my video. She'd seen the footage of my arrest. She wanted to represent me. "Jamal, I believe we have a case. What happened to you, both times, is unlawful. You have a right to fight back in court." My stomach twisted. Court, lawsuits, lawyers. Won't that just make it worse? I asked. Aisha's voice was calm, steady. "Jamal, it's already worse. But you have a chance to do something most people never get. You have video, witnesses, national attention. You have power right now. Don't waste it." I sat in silence for a moment, staring at the ceiling. "Okay," I finally whispered. "Let's do it." Word spread fast. Jamal Wilkins files lawsuit against the Atlanta Police Department. Civil rights attorney takes on high-profile case. The face of police brutality fights back. My phone didn't stop ringing. Rico showed me clips from the news. People were marching again. Bigger crowds this time, louder voices, more signs with my name. But the threats started coming too. Hateful DMs, voicemails full of slurs, messages telling me to watch my back. I tried to shake it off, but the truth was, I was scared. Scared for me, scared for my mom, scared for everyone who dared to stand beside me. But there was no turning back now. I had already crossed the line, and the whole world was watching. I thought going public would bring me peace. Like somehow, if the world saw what happened, the system would back off. Maybe the truth would finally be enough. But I was wrong. Every day felt heavier than the last. The news wouldn't stop calling. Some wanted interviews. Some just wanted a reaction. And some, especially the ones from certain networks, wanted me to slip up. They wanted me angry. They wanted me to look like the threat they already decided I was. I ignored most of them. But the ones I couldn't ignore were the ones I never saw coming. I got a letter in the mail. No return address. At first, I thought it was another note of support. People had been sending them since the lawsuit went public. Letters, postcards, even little gifts. Most of them made me smile. But this one, no signature. Just 6 words, printed in all caps. "You won't make it to court." I sat on my porch for a long time holding that letter. Rico showed up later that night. Like he always did. He noticed the letter in my hand right away. "What's that?" I handed it to him without saying a word. He read it, then looked up at me, jaw tightening. "You need protection, bro. You need security or something." I shook my head. "I can't afford that." "You can't afford not to," Rico snapped. He was right, but I didn't know where to start. The next day, Aisha came by the house. I showed her the letter. She wasn't surprised. Unfortunately, this is part of it, Jamal. People get scared when the system gets exposed. They'll do anything to shut you up. I looked at her, feeling the weight press down on me again. "What do I do?" She leaned forward, her voice calm but firm. You stay loud. You stay visible. They threaten people in the shadows because they need you to disappear. Don't let them. I nodded slowly, trying to believe her. Later that night, Rico and I were sitting on the porch when a car slowed down in front of my house. Windows tinted so dark I couldn't see inside. It stopped for just a second, then sped off down the street. Rico stood up. "Bro, that's the third car tonight." I rubbed my face, exhausted. "They're watching me." He paced back and forth. "You need to move. Come stay at my place." I wanted to argue, but I couldn't. I grabbed the duffel bag and left with him that night. Aisha kept pushing forward with the case. She filed official complaints, requested police body cam footage, scheduled press conferences. And then, something unexpected happened. The Atlanta Police Department released a statement. "We are aware of the false allegations being made by Mr. Wilkins. Our officers acted in accordance with department policy. We look forward to clearing their names in court. They called me a liar on national television." I wanted to punch something. I wanted to scream. But Aisha just smiled when she saw the statement. "Good," she said. I blinked in confusion. "Good? How is this good?" "It means they're scared, Jamal. Scared enough to go public. Scared enough to defend themselves before we even step into a courtroom." I wanted to believe that. I really did. But the pressure kept building. One night, I was scrolling through my phone, reading the latest headlines, when I noticed something new trending on Twitter. #Jamal the Fraud. I clicked on it. Thousands of tweets. Fake evidence popping up. Edited videos. Lies about my past. Old photos taken out of context. One post even claimed I had a criminal record. I didn't. But by the time I saw it, it had already been shared over 10,000 times. I threw my phone down, feeling like I couldn't breathe. Rico sat across the room, watching me. "They're trying to bury you in noise, bro," he said quietly. I leaned back, staring at the ceiling. "What if they win, Rico? What if none of this matters?" He stood up, walked over, and grabbed my shoulder. "They only do this when they know they're losing." The next morning, Aisha called. "They just filed a counter lawsuit against you," she said. I felt my stomach drop. "What?" "They're accusing you of defamation, claiming you're damaging the department's reputation." I felt like the floor disappeared beneath me. "They're trying to bankrupt you," I whispered. "They're trying to scare you into walking away," she corrected. I rubbed my temples, my mind spinning. "I don't have money for this, Aisha. I don't have anything left." She took a deep breath on the other end of the line. "Then it's time we get you some backup." That afternoon, Aisha set up a GoFundMe campaign to help with legal fees. We posted a video together, explaining the counter lawsuit and the threats. Within hours, donations started pouring in. People were paying attention. People were standing with me. But the more support I gained, the more the system pushed back. And I knew, deep down, that the hardest part was still ahead. For the first time in weeks, I woke up to something other than fear. The GoFundMe had passed $50,000 overnight. People from all over the country, some even from outside the US, had left messages of support. "We believe you, Jamal. You're not alone. Keep fighting for all of us." I sat on Rico's couch, reading every single comment until my eyes started to blur. I didn't even realize I was crying until Rico walked in with 2 mugs of coffee. He handed me one and sat down across from me. "You see this, bro? People got you." I nodded, wiping my face. For the first time, I think I believe that. Aisha called later that morning. "You ready for the press conference today?" she asked. My stomach tightened. "Do I have to speak?" She chuckled softly. "Only if you want to." I leaned back, staring at the ceiling. "Yeah, I want to." The press conference was held in front of the courthouse. Dozens of reporters, cameras everywhere, supporters holding signs just beyond the barricades. I stood next to Aisha as she addressed the media, breaking down every lie the department had put out, point by point. When she finished, she stepped aside and nodded for me to come forward. I walked up to the microphones, my hands shaking just a little. I scanned the crowd and found my mom standing near the back. Rico was right next to her, nodding like he was sending me strength. I took a deep breath. Some of y'all already know me. Some of y'all only know what you've heard on the news. So, let me make one thing clear. I pause, feeling the weight of the moment. I'm not here because I hate the police. I'm not here because I'm looking for fame. I'm here because I survived something that too many of us don't. I looked out at the cameras, the reporters, the supporters. I didn't choose this fight, but I won't back down from it. I felt my voice growing stronger. They can lie. They can threaten me. They can try to bury me in lawsuits, but I'm still standing, and I'm not standing alone. The crowd erupted in cheers. I stepped back, heart pounding. Aisha put her hand on my shoulder, smiling proudly. You did good, Jamal. Later that evening, Rico took me to a community center on the west side. He didn't tell me why. We just drove. When we walked inside, I couldn't believe what I saw. Dozens of people, families, kids, all gathered for what they were calling a night of solidarity. There were signs with my name, but there were also signs with names I recognized from other cases, names of people who didn't make it. George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Tamir Rice, Sandra Bland. It hit me all at once. This wasn't just about me. It never had been. People were tired. People were angry. But more than anything, people were ready. Community leaders spoke. Local activists rallied the crowd. And then they handed me the mic again. I looked around the room, this time without fear. I spent the last few weeks thinking I was fighting this thing alone, I began. But tonight, looking at all of you, I know better now. I paused, feeling the room go quiet. They can come after me. They already have. But what they can't do is stop all of us. People started standing up, clapping, cheering. I held the mic tighter. Real change doesn't come from lawsuits or headlines. It comes from this, from showing up for each other, from refusing to be silent, from turning our pain into power. The cheers grew louder, filling the room with energy. I stepped down, people patting me on the back as I moved through the crowd. Kids running up to hug me, mothers thanking me with tears in their eyes. And for the first time since this nightmare began, I felt hope. That night, back at Rico's place, I sat on the porch staring up at the stars. Rico came out and sat next to me. You feeling it now? He asked. I nodded. Yeah, I'm feeling it. He leaned back, smiling. Good. You're gonna need that for what's coming next. I looked over at him, eyebrows raised. What do you mean? He took a deep breath. Court date just got set. It's official now. My stomach dropped again, reality crashing back in. But this time, I didn't feel like running. I felt ready. The court date was set for 3 weeks from now. 21 days, 504 hours, 30,000 minutes. I counted every single one. Every day felt heavier. Every move felt watched. People I didn't even know started showing up outside Rico's place just to snap photos. Neighbors whispered every time I walked by. Some waved with encouragement. Others just stared. Aisha told me to stay out of sight as much as possible until the hearing. But the media didn't care about the hearing date. The real trial had already started. Online, on the news, in every neighborhood I'd ever walked through. I couldn't log on to social media without seeing my name trending again. But the tone had changed. Jamal's just milking this for money. He's not a hero, he's an opportunist. Look at his GoFundMe. This was the plan all along. It didn't matter that Aisha posted every financial update publicly. It didn't matter that every dollar was going to legal fees. The trolls had picked their narrative, and they weren't letting go. I shut my phone off for days, but even that couldn't keep the pressure out. The police department doubled down on their countersuit. They started leaking evidence to certain news outlets. blurred photos of a man they claimed was me at a known drug house 2 years ago. It wasn't me. But they knew what they were doing. They didn't have to prove anything. They just had to make people wonder. Aisha called me the night the story broke. "They're playing dirty now," she warned. I paced the room, clenching my fists. So what do? We expose it. We show the receipts. We fight back with facts. I stopped, frustrated. But does anyone even care about facts anymore? She sighed on the other end of the line. Some people do, and that's who we're fighting for. 2 days later, Aisha held another press conference. She stood there with printed, time-stamped photos of me at work on the exact date they claimed I was at that drug house. She held up the evidence for every camera to see. This is a smear campaign, plain and simple. My client is being targeted because he dared to speak out. The video of her speech spread fast. Support started pouring in again. But so did the hate. Late one night, after another wave of threatening calls, I stood on Rico's porch, staring out at the empty street. He came outside, leaned on the railing next to me. "You okay, bro?" I shook my head. "I'm tired, man. I'm tired of waking up every day, feeling like the next hit is right around the corner." Rico stayed quiet for a second, then spoke low. "You ever wonder if this is bigger than us?" I looked over at him. "What do you mean?" He stared out at the street. "I mean, this isn't just about you or them. This is about all of us. About every brother who ever got stopped for nothing. About every mother who stayed up all night praying her son made it home." I leaned on the railing, trying to let his words sink in. "But why me, Rico? Why'd it have to be me?" He looked at me, serious as ever. "Because you didn't die that night." I swallowed hard. The truth of it hit me deeper than I wanted to admit. A few days later, my mom called. "I've been thinking," she started, her voice shaky. "I want to speak at the hearing." I sat up straight. "Ma, you don't have to do that." "I know I don't have to," she said firmly, "but I want to." I didn't argue, because deep down, I knew she was right. She had as much to lose in this as I did. The night before the hearing, I couldn't sleep. I sat in the dark, staring at the ceiling. Rico came in and tossed me a bottle of water. "You ready?" I let out a shaky breath. "As ready as I'm gonna be." He nodded, sitting down across from me. "You know, no matter what happens in there, you already changed something out here." I looked at him, confused. "What do you mean?" He leaned forward. "Look outside, bro." I stood up and walked over to the window. Dozens of people were gathered across the street, silent, holding candles, holding signs with names, not just mine, but all the names. Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, Philando Castile, Eric Garner, Tamir Rice, Sandra Bland, and so many more. I felt my throat close up. I turned back to Rico. "They're still here." He nodded, smiling. They never left. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like I wasn't just surviving. I was fighting, and I wasn't fighting alone. The courthouse felt colder than I expected. Even with the summer sun beating down outside, the air inside felt heavy, like the walls had absorbed years of tension, fear, and injustice. I sat at the defense table next to Aisha, hands trembling just slightly in my lap. Rico was sitting right behind me, close enough that I could hear him breathing. My mom sat on the other side of the aisle, clutching her purse so tightly I thought the strap might snap. The judge entered. Everyone stood. And just like that, it began. The city's legal team went first. They spoke confidently, like they'd already won. Mr. Wilkins' allegations are not only false, but they also represent a direct attack on the integrity of our law enforcement officers. Body cam footage shows officers following protocol. Mr. Wilkins' viral video campaign is nothing more than a fundraising stunt designed to damage the department's reputation. I felt my blood boil, but Aisha placed her hand on my arm, steadying me. "Let them talk," she whispered. And I did. I let them paint me as a liar, as a manipulator, as a threat. But when it was our turn, Aisha stood tall. She started by showing the unedited phone footage from the first stop, clear as day, showing me standing still, cooperating, asking what I had done wrong. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is what protocol looks like?" she asked the court. Then she moved to the footage of the protest, the part where I was speaking, peacefully, before the police declared the gathering unlawful. This man was speaking to a crowd. He was not throwing bottles. He was not starting fires. He was using his voice. She laid out the evidence one by one. The false claims, the leaked lies, the doctored photos. Finally, she turned to me. "Mr. Wilkins, please tell the court what happened in your own words." I stood slowly, swallowing hard, my throat dry. I looked at the jury, at their faces. Some looked skeptical, some looked tired, but a few looked like they were actually listening. I cleared my throat. "My name is Jamal Wilkins. I'm not a criminal. I'm not perfect either, but I know what happened to me wasn't right." I paused, finding my mom in the crowd again. She gave me the smallest nod. I was stopped for a broken headlight. That's what they said. But they weren't looking for a broken light. They were looking for me, for someone who looked like me. The courtroom was silent. I felt the pressure, but I kept going. They didn't ask questions. They didn't explain. They cuffed me, slammed me on my car, and humiliated me in front of strangers. I gripped the stand tighter. I stayed silent because I was scared, because my whole life I've been taught that being loud could get me killed. My voice cracked, but silence didn't save me. Speaking did. Aisha nodded for me to continue. When I spoke out, they tried to shut me down again. They lied about me. They called me a fraud. But I'm still standing here today because I won't be silent anymore. I stepped down, every muscle in my body shaking. The judge called for a short recess. I sat back down, breathing hard. Rico leaned in, whispering in my ear, "You killed it, man!" I shook my head. "I don't know." My mom reached over from her seat behind me and grabbed my hand. "You told the truth, baby. That's all you can do." When the court resumed, the city called Officer Gray to the stand. The same officer who had cuffed me that night. He sat there like this was just another day on the job, like my life hadn't been ripped apart by what he did. Their lawyer asked him the usual questions. "Did you follow protocol? Did Mr. Wilkins resist arrest? Did you at any point use excessive force?" He answered yes, yes, and no, like he'd rehearsed it 100 times. But then Aisha stood up for cross-examination. "Officer Gray, are you familiar with Atlanta Police Department's de-escalation policy?" He shifted in his seat. "Yes. Can you explain to the court what de-escalation means to you?" He paused, like he hadn't expected the question. "It means trying to calm the situation without force, if possible. And would you say you gave Mr. Wilkins the opportunity to de-escalate that night?" He opened his mouth, then closed it again. Aisha took a step closer. "Did you warn him that he was under arrest before placing him in handcuffs?" I gave him a lawful command to exit the vehicle." "That's not what I asked, Officer Gray." He shifted again, visibly uncomfortable. "No, I did not give a verbal warning of arrest." Aisha nodded slowly, letting that hang in the air. No further questions. We left the courthouse that day exhausted but a little more hopeful. The jury had heard both sides. Now, all we could do was wait. That night, I stood on the porch again, staring up at the stars. Rico came out, leaning against the railing. "How you feeling?" I let out a shaky breath, like I just carried the weight of the world on my back. He nodded. "But you carried it, bro. You carried it." I turned to him. "Now we wait." He smiled, clapping me on the back. "Yeah, but no matter what happens, you already won." 3 days. That's how long the jury deliberated. 3 long, silent days where every minute felt like a lifetime. The media camped outside the courthouse. Reporters waited on sidewalks. Protesters gathered across the street, holding signs and chanting my name over and over again, like they were holding their breath with me. I tried to keep myself busy. I tried to stay calm. But nothing could quiet my mind. I kept thinking, what if they don't believe me? What if they let them win? Rico stayed by my side the whole time. So did my mom. So did Aisha. But the waiting, it was the worst part. When the call finally came in, Aisha didn't even have to say the words. The look on her face told me everything. They've reached a verdict. We need to get to the courthouse. The courtroom was packed. Cameras, supporters, even some of the same officers who had stood on the other side of that line weeks ago. I sat at the defense table, my heart pounding in my chest, so loud I swore the whole room could hear it. The judge entered. Everyone stood. The jury filed in, faces unreadable, my breath caught in my throat. The clerk stood and read the decision aloud. In the case of Wilkins v. Atlanta Police Department, we, the jury, find in favor of the plaintiff, Jamal Wilkins. I felt my body collapse back into the chair. Rico grabbed my shoulder, shaking me. You did it, man! You did it! My mom burst into tears behind me. I turned around, pulling her into my arms as the courtroom erupted. Cheers, tears, people standing and clapping. I could barely breathe. I couldn't even speak, but for the first time, it felt like I could finally exhale. The judge continued speaking. Furthermore, the court awards damages to Mr. Wilkins in the amount of $1.5 million for emotional distress and violation of civil rights. More cheers. But I didn't care about the money. I cared about the truth. And today, we had won. Outside the courthouse, the crowd had tripled in size. People were holding candles again. Signs with my name. Signs with all the names. Jamal Wilkins, we see you. Justice for all of us. No justice, no peace. I stood on the courthouse steps, surrounded by Aisha, Rico, my mom. Someone handed me a megaphone. I held it in my shaking hands, staring out at the sea of faces. I raised it to my lips. This isn't just a victory for me, I started, my voice breaking just a little. This is a victory for every voice they tried to silence. The crowd roared. But our fight isn't over. We have work to do. We have names to remember. We have systems to change. And I promise you, we're not done yet. Tears filled my eyes as I looked out at the people who refused to give up on me. We showed them what happens when we stand together. And we're never going back to being silent again. The crowd erupted again, louder than I had ever heard before. I handed the megaphone back and turned to Rico. He smiled wide, pulling me into a hug. You're more than just a headline now, bro, he whispered. You're a movement. And for the first time, I believed him. Winning in court didn't erase what happened. It didn't stop the threats. It didn't magically fix the broken system we had been shouting about for years. But it proved something bigger. It proved that our voices mattered, that standing up mattered, that we mattered. The news cycled through the story for days. Jamal Wilkins wins landmark civil rights case. A blow to police misconduct in Atlanta. What comes next for the face of modern protest? I hated that headline. I didn't want to be the face of anything. But I understood now. This was bigger than me. And it wasn't over. Aisha sat down with me a few days after the verdict. She laid out papers on the table. Petitions, community reform proposals, calls for new legislation. Jamal, people are listening now. This is your moment to push for real change, to make sure this doesn't just end with a headline and a payout. I looked at the stack of papers. It felt heavy, almost too heavy, but I nodded anyway. Where do we start? She smiled. With the people. Rico and I started attending more rallies, not just in Atlanta, but all over the state. Sometimes I spoke. Sometimes I just stood in the crowd, letting the energy wash over me. The fear never fully left me, but something else had grown stronger than the fear. Purpose. I started working with local youth programs, visiting schools, talking to kids who looked just like me. Kids who already knew what it felt like to be afraid of the world outside their own front door. I told them the truth about what happened to me, about the system we were still fighting. But I also told them something I never believed before all this started. You are more powerful than they want you to believe. Months passed. The city started holding community forums with law enforcement. Some officers showed up ready to listen. Some didn't. But the people never stopped showing up. We kept marching, kept speaking, kept pushing, because we knew the fight wasn't over. Not even close. One night, I was back on my porch with Rico, like we had been so many times before. The city was quiet for once. The air felt different, like something had shifted. Not finished, not perfect, but different. I leaned back, staring at the night sky. You ever think about what's next? I asked. Rico nodded. All the time. I turned to him. Think we'll ever see real change? He smiled. I think we already have. I looked back at the sky, taking a deep breath. We're not done, though. Nah, he agreed. Not even close. And in that moment, sitting there in the quiet with my brother by my side, I knew something for sure. The fight was just beginning. And this time, I wasn't fighting alone.